You can have a million accomplishments in this lifetime, but if you don't have love in your life, your days are going to feel empty. And I know because I've been there before. 2022 was a really big year for me in terms of accomplishments. My podcast was doing great. I had a video go viral for the first time. And yet, it just felt so empty because I hadn't worked on cultivating love in my life. And this was a point where I'd been in self-improvement for like multiple years, and yet I still felt empty inside because self-improvement at the end of the day just isn't enough to give you what your heart needs. Yes, it's a big piece of the puzzle, of course, but if you don't actually have love in your life, then everything will just feel empty. So this episode is about learning to bring love into your life. And when I say love, I'm not just talking about romantic love. I mean like having a 2024 that's just filled with love from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. Love in what you do, love in all the things that happen to you. You know, yes, romantic love, love in friendships. I genuinely mean like having a wonderful love for life in 2024. Like, I want your mental state to always be love in 2024. And this is something I've gotten so good at. I know last year I was not at all where I am today in terms of my consciousness level. David R. Hawkins is the author of a book called Letting Go that I'm reading, and there's a pyramid of consciousness. I'll try to put it on the screen. Sorry for those of you listening to the audio version. But basically, we can raise our level of consciousness based on the state of mind we're in, and when we're on a certain level of consciousness, then we tend to attract things of the same nature. And this isn't like this law of attraction thing, believing in a power other than God, because I believe God is the ultimate power, and we owe everything to God. This is actually scientifically proven that there is a certain vibration to everything in this universe. And it has been proven, like in these experiments in the book Letting Go, that when you vibrate on this frequency of love, when you're on that level of consciousness, when they conduct muscle tests, the muscles actually are stronger when you're in this state of love. But when you're in a state of sadness or like a state of anger or grief or shame, the muscles are actually weaker when you conduct tests on them in a laboratory environment, which to me is just so much proof of the fact that when we are in a state of love, we are literally stronger. We are like more well equipped to go through the day and feel happy and do our best. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start with all the shifts that I made in 2023 to get to where I am now. Now I'm just in a state where literally nothing phases me. I'm almost always pretty content with where I am in life. I never really feel the need to complain or make a big scene over things that happen to me. Like, for example, this morning I literally woke up late for school. I woke up at 8 o'clock. School starts at 8:30, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna be late for school. And I know if this had happened to me a year ago, I would have been panicking, probably cursing, like angrily getting my stuff ready. But I was so calm when it happened this morning. I just knew that my mental state had changed because I just calmly got my stuff ready, got out the door, and I was able to get to class on time. I wasn't stressed, and today I had one of the best days I've ever had. And it's because my mental state is just in the state of love all the time. And that doesn't mean that you're in love or you just have romantic love in your life. What love means is you're just in a state where you accept everything the way it is. I read a book called Radical Acceptance that was just so eye-opening in this aspect, and if you're curious about it, you should definitely read it because it is an amazing book. It's all about just accepting where you are right now, and that sounds so basic, but it actually makes a huge impact because until you read that book, you won't realize how many things in life you're resisting. There's this beautiful part where it talks about how we don't love our lives. And even when we do have moments that we love, like let's say we're spending time with a loved one or we're at a concert, usually most of the time we're thinking and we're already fearing how we're going to recreate that moment we're already fearing losing the moment. Like, you're so happy in that moment that you just want to cling on to it forever, and you're already starting to worry about how you're going to recreate it in the future. Like, even when we are having a good time in the moment, we still live with this fear that we're not going to be able to experience something like that again. So we're not really loving the moment in its entirety. And another big thing is that when we feel pain or stress, or when our body reacts in a negative way to something, like for example having acne or having some sort of chronic disease, we immediately go to a stance of hatred, and we start hating our bodies, and we hate ourselves for when bad things happen. And this is just like not the way to go if you want to live a life of love in 2024. So the first important thing to living a life full of love is acceptance. As I said, you have to accept where you are right now. If you want more loving things to come in your life, if you want to genuinely love every second of your life, you have to start with loving what you have right now. There's literally no shortcut. There's no other way about it. You have to start exactly where you are with the circumstances you have. Even if you think that they're not perfect, you have to give it a try, and you have to try at least to love those circumstances. So like, even if you have to wait in traffic right now and you're listening to this podcast, can you turn that into a loving experience? Can you find some way to be grateful for it? Maybe thinking about how happy you are that you have this extra time to listen to a podcast or audiobook in the car. Or let's say you have acne. This is something that I struggle with, and this is something a lot of people just completely hate. And they approach it with this mindset of guilt and shame. And guilt and shame are some of the lowest consciousness levels on the pyramid. So it is just so harmful to be living in a state of shame. But people approach their flaws with shame, and this is one of the biggest things that will block love from coming into your life. When you live in this constant state of embarrassment about who you are and who you've become. Because let's say if you have acne, you're not fully who you want to be yet. That's okay. I mean, you obviously want clearer skin. You want to feel confident when you step out. But hating acne is only going to make it worse, because you're resisting your body and you're putting yourself in a state of stress the longer and longer you resist the acne on your face and treat it with just this state of absolute hatred, because you're spiking your cortisol levels. But if you were to approach it with neutrality, or at least love, then all of a sudden you're not going to have as much cortisol, which is the hormone of stress, because you are no longer approaching it from this mindset of panic. And so when we approach things with an aspect or with a perspective of love, then all of a sudden we're less stressed, we feel happier, we feel freer. And even if the circumstances in our lives haven't changed, you at least now feel a whole lot better about your life than you did before. So even if your life doesn't change from listening to this podcast episode, which honestly is not going to happen because I know that this will change your life, you still at least feel happier than you did before, which is a win in my book. So another important thing with acne is saying, like, it's a natural human thing. And as I was saying, shame is just one of the lowest consciousness levels you can be on. And so when you feel like ashamed of your body for functioning normally, like for having acne to protect your skin from bacteria, or let's say you get a stomach ache from eating something and you get mad at your body, that is a great way to block love from coming into your life, because whenever we have hatred in our hearts, you're completely blocking love. So learn to accept those things that you can't control when it comes to your health. And I can almost guarantee that they'll change. I had like a super bad breakout about a month ago. I didn't understand what was happening. It's still healing up right now. Like all of the acne is gone and I'm just left with like scars and little bumps. But it was so bad. All of a sudden my forehead started like completely breaking out. I was kind of like embarrassed about it because I still haven't been wearing makeup. And at first I was like panicked and I went to this mindset of hatred and I was like, how do I fix this? What do? I want it off my face immediately. And so, hatred causes you to do crazy things and overcompensate, which usually has the opposite effect of what you want to happen. Because when you're in a state of panic, you're in a state of stress, everything is so much harder, everything is forced, nothing feels easy, and it's just the complete opposite of love. So I decided I was going to try to fix the problem. So I started way over cleansing my face, and I made it a million times worse. But it wasn't until, I was in Florida that I had this mindset shift where I was like, why am I doing this to my skin? Why can't I just let it be? And so I just kind of stopped washing my face as much. I stopped washing it in the morning because I could tell that my skin was being really destroyed by all the cleanser that I was putting on it. And my skin actually improved as soon as I took a step back from overcompensating and having this mindset of panic. So as soon as you let go and just approach the situation with love, then all of a sudden you'll find that things will work out for you. So another big thing, as I said, first thing is acceptance. This can also tie to your relationships with other people. You have to love your relationships with other people if you want better ones or if you want new people in your life. You have to start with what God has given you and work your way up from there. But trying to tear down what you have will always have the opposite effect. So if you want lots of love in your life and relationships and friendships, start by cultivating love in the ones that you already have. Maybe a friend you have right now is not meeting all of your needs. Maybe you're in a relationship and you feel like the communication could be better, or you're not happy with how maybe they don't show you the attention that you feel like you deserve. You start with love. That's what you start with. You don't start with pointing fingers or getting angry at people, getting cold, going bitter, cutting people off, because I've been there before. I have been there before, and it's super popular nowadays. This whole idea of ghosting people, cutting people off silently as soon as they wrong you. But I will tell you, whatever you put onto other people, the way you treat you, it still has to pass through your brain and consciousness. So when you direct hatred and judgment towards people, it kind of leaves an imprint on your mental state, if that makes any sense. There's kind of a residue left behind when you direct that negativity towards other people instead of approaching a situation with love. So at least for your own sake, you should probably try a different approach. And also, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, pointing fingers, having violent arguments, getting angry has never fixed anything. Giving people the cold shoulder does not fix anything. And I know because I'm naturally a soft-hearted person, but all this advice on the internet before made me feel like I needed to do this whole thing of ignoring people as soon as they had wronged me or disrespected me. And I will tell you right now, it does not feel good. It does not heal you the way that you think it will. And even the other day, I had this situation where, I was talking to a friend and they kind of they said something that just, it wasn't heart softening. It wasn't very nice. It came across very aggressive. And I was considering just leaving them on read, not responding at all. And so I did that for an hour, and I just felt horrible the whole time. Something just felt so off, because it's in our nature to love. And when we approach conflicts from this place of, I'm going to ignore you because you've disrespected me, and I'm going to channel my anger onto you, it usually makes us feel bad, because as I said, we have that energetic residue of anger that's only left behind on us. Sometimes they don't even end up feeling the anger that we're trying to direct towards them, and it's just it only makes us feel angry and bitter. So I ended up just turning it into a lighthearted, joking situation. It's not I'm going to accept disrespect or let people walk all over me, but in this situation, it was you know what? This is an important thing. It is only my job to do the best that I can with treating other people well. And you know what? If other people treat me completely disrespectfully, then that is their walk with God. And I'm not going to be bitter or throw that energy back towards them, because that would only kind of, dirty up my heart. I want my heart to be pure and loving. And when we have this attitude of throwing back the energy that others give us, then when others are bitter or just awful towards us, then it's like we're straying even farther from God, because now all of a sudden we're saying that because someone hasn't treated us well, we need to throw back all this anger and rude energy towards them. And I don't think that that's what God would want us to do, but now in our society, everyone says that you should treat them with the energy that they treat you with, because it's having standards for yourself. But you know what? My standard for myself is a life of love, because that personally feels better to me than living on a high horse where I isolate myself from everyone and act bitter towards those who have wronged me. That feels a lot better to me, because I've been there before. And it just made me feel so lonely. And I know that humans are not meant to live like that. No, I'm not saying if someone is abusing you, you should just stay there and take it. Obviously walk away, because that is love. That is love towards yourself. And it's love towards them, because you're giving them the chance that they need to really think about their life and say, you know what I'm doing is not right. Because sometimes people do need you to leave in order to come to the conclusion that they are not living a life of love. And so it can be good in that sense. But for the most part, with these minor arguments you have with people, these minor annoyances, approach it from a state of love. You don't need to be bitter or vengeful. And that's how you're going to fill your life with love in 2024. When you stop having crazy expectations for people and just let them be who they are. And meet them where they are with love. Because if they really are a person of God, that love will make them a better person, and it'll make their heart more pure. So you don't need to worry so much about trying to make other people perfect, or outright try to change them, or get upset when they're not meeting your expectations. Because the truth is, other people aren't here to serve you. Your mission on this earth, if you actually want love, you have to give love. This is one of the most important points in the podcast episode. If you want a life of love in 2024, you have to give it to others. First, accept others for who they are and meet them with love, but also go out of your way to show those people love, even if they are kind of petty and bitter. Because as I said, it's only your job to show up with love. Whatever they do is between them and God. But you have a relationship with God, and you shouldn't taint it just because you want to get petty revenge on someone who's being rude to you. Because not only does it make you feel just horrible, but it just unpurifies your heart. It makes you feel so heavy and just isolated. So don't do that. Show people love, show people forgiveness, go out of your way to do things for everyone. If you have something nice you want to say to someone, just say it. If people think that you're weird for showing them love, then it shows that they have a blockage towards love, and that they probably haven't been loved growing up. When people panic when you show them love, when they run away or they act like it's weird, it's usually because growing up they didn't receive much love. So for them, it's normal to not receive love, and it's really weird when people do show them love. So that's just a really sad case, but I know some people who will have experiences where they'll love that kind of person, and then they'll get really angry and bitter when a person doesn't return their love. And 2024 is about love, and that means you love people unconditionally even if they don't love you back. And that's not like an obsessive type of love where you're just going to be madly in love with someone even if they don't care at all about you, because that's not self-love at all. You should choose people who choose you and show you unconditional love when it comes to romantic love. But just be there for people, and don't hold hatred in your heart towards people when they don't reciprocate your feelings. You don't have to be obsessively loving them, but at least look at them from a perspective of kindness and love. And, if someone doesn't treat you well in return when you show them love, you still just have kind wishes towards them. That's what loving someone unconditionally means. And another thing that's really important is definitely choosing what kind of love you accept into your life. Because a lot of us will accept love that is just not pure into our lives, and then we wonder why we feel so lonely all the time. And it's because humans are meant to love each other the way that God loves us. We were made in God's image, and so, when we're accepting love that is not the way that God has loved us, it's really not good for our hearts. We're meant to have a love that's pure and forgiving. There's that verse in Corinthians that says, love is patient, love is kind, love is forgiving, love doesn't hold any record of rights or wrongs. That is pure, unconditional love. And when you're in some sort of relationship or friendship where people are holding your past against you, or, just having super high expectations for you, then getting mad when you don't meet them, when you're in a relationship where people are just only using you and not really loving you for who you are, when people aren't leading you in the right direction, when you feel like you're just kind of being robbed of your soul, that's a good sign that you need to step away and find a love that is more pure. Because I will say the number one indicator of godly love is that it brings you peace. And if you want love in 2024, you need to find love that brings you peace and weed out all the relationships that aren't bringing you peace. Weed them out, because I think that your life is kind of like a tarmac. So if you have all these planes of kind of tarnished love, then there's no room for any pure love to come into your life. So you have to clear the tarmac of all the tarnished love, the tarnished relationships, and then all of a sudden you're going to have space to bring in the pure love that you really deserve. So that's really important. And I will say, as I said before, I think this reminder is useful. When you are removing the tarnished planes from the tarmac, you don't do it from a place of hatred or anger. You don't do it from a standpoint of, I'm really angry you couldn't be who I wanted you to be. I'm really angry that you didn't love me the way that I deserve to be loved. That's not how you do it. You should never do it from that mindset. You're doing it gently. You're letting go of people in a gentle way where you still love them and wish kind things towards them, and you still want them to be happy and heal. Because if someone isn't loving you in a pure way, it simply means that their heart hasn't healed, and that's all there is to it. So you don't let those people go with malice, because that will only keep you from attracting pure love in your life. So the final thing I want to talk about, even though I could kind of talk about this forever, is to have love in your life in 2024. This kind of ties back to what I said in the beginning about acceptance of where you are, but also just try to find love in every task that you do. 2 tasks can be done and have you could be doing the same 2 tasks basically, but you can do one with love and one with hatred, and the end result will be completely different. Completely different. Let's say you're writing an essay, and this is something I was reminded of as I was writing my college essays. If you do it from a perspective of bitterness over your past and not love, the results are night and day, completely different. When you do anything, it comes so much easier and it resonates so much better with people when you do it from a standpoint of love. And I'm dead serious about this. Conversations, things that you write, even homework that you do, things you create for your business, maybe offers you send out, emails you send, text messages you send, all of that. It makes such a big difference when you do things with the perspective of love. Even studying or playing an instrument, when you really put your heart into something and you're just loving the moment, the way it is, as it is. then your results are so much better and things genuinely feel effortless and you feel so happy with just where you are in the moment. And that's how you have a life filled with love in 2024. It's just this unconditional acceptance of both where you are in life, who you are, what you're doing. You just love all of it. The main message is that you have to give out love in order to have a life filled with love. Give out love in what you're doing, in your thoughts, in your words towards people, and how you treat people, all of that. I hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Personal Growth Project podcast. And if you want more like this, you can check out the podcast Instagram at Personal Growth Project Official. And you should also check out my newsletter, which is something I'm doing every day. I send out just a daily message not every morning, every night. And they're just super pure, they're super happy and inspiring. And you should check it out. I'll put the link in the description. Thank you so much for listening. I mean, I really do ironically love having this podcast. So it just means the world to me that I could be able to spread this message with you because I really felt convicted in my heart. I just knew that I needed to put this out there because I feel so strongly about this. And God has really been speaking to me a lot about love lately. I mean, I just feel it in my heart all the time. I hope that you all have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next week's episode.